Hello and welcome to sim.bc, where it right now is top in the morning to you lads. No, it's actually not. It's in the middle of the night. It's just about 5:29 and a half. So let's just say 5:30, should we? For the convenience, mates, for the convenience. And what am I going to introduce this video with? Well, you might think that now he's going to talk about something that's happened in his life again. And you're absolutely correcto on that, mates. Because I've implemented and starting on yet another thing that has to do with my New Year's resolutions. Yay! Made some scripted videos, made some Photoshop integration, continued with the series, and yesterday made my own song. Kind of. I've written the lyrics, and after that I plugged in my keyboard to my sound card, I think it's called, that I then connected to the computer, and I just played with some headphones on, and I was finding the key notes, worked from the notes to find the chords, and it just played really well, in my own opinion, right? In my own opinion, mates. Just to keep that in mind, me own opinion about what I wrote there. And I wrote the music, I've written the lyrics, so I'm all on board on it so far. It's feeling all dandy, mates. And why am I so happy about this thing? Because many people will tend to say that, well, that's all good that you've started with your New Year's resolution. That's good. You should. But why am I so happy about it? Well, because many of my friends, right, and I'm saying many, about 10 to 20 people that I know closely, have already failed on theirs. So I'm a bit smug yet again. Not only that the lighting solution is working so far, not only that this seems to working so far, but also that I'm actually on me New Year's resolution, and some of my closer mates have, well, they're not anymore. They've just been like, well, it was a bit unrealistic, so I've stopped. So hopefully, mates, yet again, you've set realistic goals for you, yeah? Not just using that to make a 180 in your life, but instead maybe a 12 degrees turn towards something that you feel is more right. But that's not why you're here, mates, is it? No, you're not here just to see me being all smug, right? You're not here to see me gloat about my New Year's resolution. No, you're here about all them questions. And today we're going to start with, well, summarize what we've done in the last couple of videos yet again, mates, because that is how I tend to operate. So you're just gonna go through a couple of things that we've gone through in the latest videos, just restating it. So, tips and tricks for making an in-between question that are not too hard and not too easy, and is interesting all at the same time to your audience. From 2 days ago's video, we know that people tend to drift both in and out of conversation when not feeling engaged, which makes them having a harder time understanding the context, right, in which a question is asked, and hence making said question a harder experience, even though it's objectively, based on the others in the room, might have been an easy one. So, making necessary questions in order to keep audience engagement is one thing, but it also needs to be kept short and simple. Not short in the sense that a short discussion, but rather that the question takes about 15 to 30 seconds to formulate and not 10 minutes. And simple, not in the way that it should be an easy question, but in the sense that it should have one objective and to an answer instead of 15 different ones. Sorry, mates, was fixing my mic there for a bit because it was furling further and further down, and I couldn't even sit straight in me back right. I was just hunching and hunching more and more. So now we're back. Anyway, today we're going to go through ask direct questions. Because if I walk up to you, mate, if I walk up to you and I say, that's a nice color of the thing that is kind of close to you. Maybe if I could borrow that sometime, I would be happy. And you're like, my coat? And I'm like, yeah, no, not your coat. I'm actually talking about that one other thing that is kind of furry at the same time, you know, on the inside, mate, but it still has that nice color and it goes together so well with what I am wearing. And they're like, oh, do you mean my gloves? Yeah. No, I'm not talking about your gloves either. I'm talking about, you know, that thing on the ground that's close to the ground. It's like, my pants. No, not my pants. But can you just tell me what it is? I meant your shoes, mate. Asking direct questions is important. Why? Well, because as we've been stating, short and simple question needs to be a thing, right? You need to be able to both formulate the question quite quickly and be having a simple motivation behind it. And the simpleness there being addressing one objective is key when you're making a direct question, because you don't want to, as we stated in yesterday's video, add on unnecessary complexity in the sense that, well, I'm saying like lots of easy things that you probably know the answer to if I just stated them individually. But instead I'm going to state them all at the same time, and I'm going to make a very indirect question because I'm asking after so many things at the same time. It would be so much better if I just came up to you and said, "Hi, nice shoes, can I borrow them?" Instead of trying to lead it in, right? Instead of to try this sneaky way of asking you about your shoes, mate. And I know that this is something that is referenced and based in culture and politics and your history in the country, that maybe you as a Swede is a bit more direct without even noticing it. Maybe you're a bit like in the US, they tend to be quite direct. As I've heard, the stereotypical American is very direct in comparison to Swedes. And even though Swedes are very direct if you compare us with, let's say, French people, and French people are very direct if you compare them to China. It's all about culture, context, and who you are referring it to. But asking direct questions is necessary, not for the case of, stepping on anyone's toes when it comes to culture, because sometimes it can seem very rude if you say like, "What is that ugly thing on your forehead?" Instead, you might say, "Mate, you should maybe look yourself in the mirror," right? You want to say it in a not so direct way because you want to be nice to the person. But that's not the context in which we are discussing this. We're discussing questions from the perspective of a lecturer, right? From the perspective of a teacher who's having an audience, who's having students, right? And when you're asking your students about something, you don't really care about their feelings. I mean, you do. You don't want to be the harshest teacher ever. That's not what I'm saying, right? You don't want to come in there and be like, "Well, people, you're all gonna cry when this is over." You don't want to be that guy, but simultaneously, you don't want to be the professor that comes into the room and everybody's just like, "This guy again, or this girl again." I mean, why? I'm going to spend 3 hours in this seat because I can't just leave, because that's rude, right? I'm going to spend 3 hours here just listening to him trying to be so, well, nice to us that he can't actually state a question. You want to find something in between there, and that's all in conjunction with making it not too hard and making it not too easy. Because when we're discussing making it not too hard and not too easy, we're talking about you as well as the teacher, right? You who is stating the question both needs to make sure that the intent is easy enough for people to understand and discuss, but not that easy that they're falling out of favor of the question, and not as hard that they don't tend to interact with it. But equally as important is that you, on the other hand, is also making it easy enough on yourself. You can't just cater to everybody's needs. So you need to make direct questions in order to fit the need that you're into, right? You need to fit the research in the academic world, right? The academic culture, the academic context. You need to fit that. And in order for you to not constantly think about, "Oh, I might step on people's toes here," you need to be able to ask direct questions. And I would argue, if you're a teacher, you should go into the room and state from the beginning, right, that I'm going to be quite direct with my questions. It's not only for your sake, but for my sake as well. Because it's a lot easier for me to ask you guys direct questions and not be thinking about how I should formulate it, because that will hinder the progression of the course. So just state that in the beginning, mates. It's going to be so much easier. You don't want the teacher who says, like, "You have an ugly thing on your forehead there," and you don't want the other guy who says, "Maybe I'm just hinting, right, hedging 4 or 5 times, spending 15 minutes on asking you to go check yourself in the mirror because you might have a pimple there that's like huge or something." And I know that you shouldn't be basing stuff and asking and commenting on people's appearances, but people do anyway. Not that I am supporting that, just that, that's a thing. I know, it's bad, but it's true. But, nevertheless, direct questions, really important. As I said, many different cultures have many different views on this topic. Many people tend that it's very rude. Yet again, you should state in the beginning of your course that you're going to make very direct questions. Not direct, like aggressively direct, but direct in the sense that it's obvious what the question is about. And that is key here. That's the point I'm going to try to make here, right? Because if you try to make, yet again, this overcomplicated question with lots of different points of view, the students can seem to think that, well, this can go anywhere. I know that this person was starting to ask a question. This professor was like, "I'm going to ask you a question now." And then since you're trying to hedge and be so nice, or since you're not trying to be too direct because you think, "I not want to give away the answer," sure, but you maybe can use a better question then. Just, reformulate it so that you don't give away the answer. Also a bit on you, right? You need to be able to make engagement by not giving out the answer but still making it direct, right? But you don't want to give this question that it's so abstract that people are going to sit there and be like, are we discussing supply chain management? Are we discussing economics? Are we discussing accounting? Is this an engineering course? Am I wrong? Is it a psychology course? And you're looking to your mate and he's just like, I thought this was nursery. You know, not up until this point, but now with this question, I mean, it can go anywhere, right? You do not want that as a teacher. Why? Well, because such a question will make you both lose the confidence of the students. They will be like, well, this person doesn't know what they're talking about. Even though you're thinking like, this is the best question ever. It covers everything in the course at the same time. It's not too easy, it's not too hard, but it's so much content in there that it's not direct enough that people will actually understand it. And direct is also in conjunction with simplicity, that you don't want to have 5 questions in one question, because then it's not a direct question. Yet again, can seen as abstract, and especially if you have 5 different points that vary a lot, there can be a lot of wiggle room in there, right? Can maybe be in different fields, and people think that, you know, you should connect all of these points, which was not your, you know, your objective with the question. You would just like them to give me direct answers to my direct questions, but they see it like, oh, we're going to analyze these and put them all together, and you will get a completely different, answer than you were hoping for. Yet again, this runs the risk of you being as the teacher saying, these people, the youth of today, they don't know anything. Here I am spending days and days trying to teach them, right? Trying to introduce them to the concept of what we're talking about here today. And all of that they hear is like, I have 5 questions, and it seems like he wants one answer. This is hard. You see what I'm saying here? You see what I'm saying? So what you want to do is make a question that is direct enough that it's not, abstract. Not aggressively direct. You don't want to shout it to people, right? You don't want to feel, people don't want to feel accused of a question. That's not the point. That's not the point of a question, right? But you want to make it direct enough so that people understand that, oh, this is a question that I know the answer to, or this is a question which I will know the answer to, or which I will find the answer to. And that's crucial. The answer, not the many different potential answers, but the direct answer to this question. And I know that the more abstract the subject, like psychology and stuff like that, and even business in a sense, where there are so many different things that you can incorporate to the same kind of question. If we're talking about cultures in different parts of the world, there's so many things that you can talk about, and that just makes it harder for you as a lecturer to try to keep it concrete, try to keep it direct, you know, so that people don't drift out. Because yet again, I would argue that that's your job as a lecturer, right? You want to make questions that are direct enough in an abstract field so that people understand what you're asking. Otherwise, they might drift away from what you were actually trying to teach them, right? You're talking about, maybe say that you're talking about Chinese culture, but you're asking a question in such a way so that people are introducing German culture, and maybe that's like an A-level thing, you know, a 5, I don't know what grading system you have, but maybe that's like the top of the ladder. Maybe that's what you want them to do in the end of the course, but not at this point in time. Right now you want to discuss the Chinese culture in and within itself. So a direct question is harder in an abstract field, but it's still equally as important both for you and for the students, in order to not make it drift away, and in that sense make it too abstract and too unnecessarily hard. Not that the answers that the students will give is wrong, just that it will not be the answer that you were expecting them to give, hence you think is wrong, right? So if you want to make it, or rather I should say, to end this, right, for you to take away as a lecturer, to make your job easier, make direct questions. Yet again, not accusingly direct, not aggressively direct, but just direct enough so that people understand what you're still talking about. So they understand kind of, maybe so that you shouldn't give away the answer, right? But you should hint towards what the answer should be. You know what I'm saying here? You see the difference? Not just saying the answer is out there somewhere in some field, in something that we discussed. Instead, you're saying, I'm looking for this. Now, there are 15 different ways of giving me this. Maybe there's more things of giving me this. Even in math, maybe there are so many equations that you can use, but you're looking for one specific answer. You see what I'm saying here? Make it direct enough for people to understand. Because yet again, this is in correlation with easy and hard questions. If people don't understand the questions, they can interpret it as both hard and easy. What you want to show them is that you are in between, and you're direct enough to show them, to guide them, right? That this is where your question lies. This is where the answer will be. Engage them through this way. That was everything for me today, mates. Have a nice one. I'll see you tomorrow with, I was gonna say about ask one question at a time, but that will be on Sunday. Because tomorrow, mates, we will indulge and go into some interesting news of what has happened in the week. It's gonna be all good, mates. It's gonna be all fine. So, have a nice one, mates. See ya.